Greetings, my fellow residents and voters of Belize City. Exactly 1 week from today, you and voters across the country will go to the polls to exercise your democratic and constitutional right in the general elections. The right to vote is one of our most sacred rights, and we get the opportunity to exercise this right every 5 years in general elections and every 3 years in municipal elections. A total of 88 candidates representing the incumbent United Democratic Party, the People's United Party, the Belize Progressive Party, the Belize People Front, and a handful of independents were officially nominated. The political campaigns have gone into overdrive. The candidates and their campaigners are making a last-ditch effort to earn your vote. Arguably, some of you have already made up your minds about whom you will vote for and are only waiting for November 11th to mark your X. On the other hand, some of you may still be undecided and may remain undecided up until election day when you are standing in line and waiting to cast your vote. My friends, I share the view expressed by our party leader, the Honorable John Briceño, that the general elections of November 11, 2020 will be the most consequential and defining election of our time. Since February 2008, and for the first time in the history of Belize, our country and people have been governed by one political party for 3 consecutive terms. For 12 long years, the United Democratic Party has occupied the seat of government in Belmopan and has presided over the affairs of our country in its trademark egotism. The UDP, under its new leader, is boasting that it will win a 4th consecutive term. In 2012, the UDP told you to imagine the possibilities. 12 years after, you and your families are living and feeling the harsh realities of life under the UDP. 3 years later, in 2015, the UDP told you that the best is yet to come. Now, this would be funny if it wasn't so sad, because the truth is that the best only came for the UDP ministers, their families, and their privileged friends. 12 years later, while you and your families are still struggling to put a roof over your heads and food on your table, mired in the slum-laden urban areas of Collet, Port Loyola, Lake Independence, Pickstock, and stretching as far into the Queen Square, Mesopotamia, Albert, and other divisions across the country, your UDP ministers, families, and privileged friends are living it up in their lavish mansions, wining and dining to the best food and drinks that money can buy. It is now 2020, and just when we thought that the UDP had outdone itself with its insulting campaign slogans, you are now being told that your future matters. The question is, did it not matter 12 years ago? I urge you, the voters and residents of Belize City and across this entire country, to seriously consider this question. You, a single mom and dad that has been trying so hard to make ends meet, but unfortunately the cost of living keeps rising. You, the young graduates just out of college where your parents spent their last savings on your education in the hope that you would find employment, but to no avail. To you, our public servants and those employed in the private sector, you have been the backbone of this economy. You pay your taxes, you don't ask for any breaks, you don't request hands out, but it has been getting harder and harder for you to meet that monthly mortgage and those day-to-day living expenses. Sadly, you now find yourself in the newly fashioned social class of the working poor. To you, our small and medium-sized business owners, you have seen steady increases in the cost of doing business, and while you love your employees immensely, you find yourself having no other option but to cut staff. My dear undecided voter, I urge you to do some sober analysis and reflection on the past 12 years. If you are able to do so dispassionately, you will find that not only has the UDP governed for 3 consecutive terms, but more importantly, it had at its disposal more financial resources than any previous government has ever had. Billions and billions of dollars. Dear undecided voter, you then need to ask yourself, did those billions of dollars reach you and your families? Did it impact your day-to-day lives in a positive manner? Are you and your families better off today in 2020 than you were in 2008? Have your lives progressed or regressed over these past 12 years? If the answer to those questions are no, then you need to pose this question to the UDP government. How can you and your families even begin to think about your future when you are struggling and suffering in the present? To those first-time voters on November 11th, many of you will be exercising your voting right for the very first time. According to the Elections and Boundaries Office, the youth vote will represent the largest voting bloc in these general elections. Dear 18-year-olds, you were only 6 years old when the UDP took over the reins of government in 2008. Back then, you were innocent as most children are. However, in 2020, you have now grown into adolescent and are now critical thinkers. In the next 7 days, your critical thinking ability will be put to the test. Right now, you are being aggressively courted by the political candidates. I can vividly recall when I was in your shoes in 1984. I know you are being bombarded daily with messages and might feel overwhelmed, even confused. Don't be confused. My advice to you is to view November 11 as a day that will not only be defined as election day, but rather a day that will define and shape your generation. On November 11, you will enter the polling station with a powerful armament. Your right to vote. In the words of the great Mahatma Gandhi, you must be the change that you want to see in the world. My fellow voters and residents of Belize City, November 11 will offer an opportunity for you and your families to change the course of your lives. After 12 years, the UDP has demonstrated that its #1 priority is to win elections. For 12 years, the UDP has been the victor, while you, our most treasured residents, have been the victims. On November 11, it is time to turn the tables and to become the victors that you were destined to be. Over the past couple of months, the People's United Party has demonstrated that they are very serious about leading. Led by our party leader, John Briceño, we are the only party that have disclosed a comprehensive and well-thought-out plan. A plan, Belize, geared at revitalizing this country and by extension, our city. As our campaign slogan rightly says, everybody will win. Todos ganamos. November 11, let us tell the conceited UDP of the sobering words of internet activist Wael Goning. The power of the people is greater than the people in power. Lastly, let us be reminded that we are still in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. As we prepare to go to the polls, the number of infections continue to surge. I strongly urge each and every one of you to take all necessary precautions to keep yourselves safe and protected on election day. God bless you and your families, and God bless Belize.